Have you ever thought about how incredible it would be if you could save yourself 30 years of frustrating attempts, illusions, and regrets in just 20 minutes? Sounds like an exaggeration, right? But what if I told you that most people waste decades chasing external goals, believing happiness is always tied to the next achievement, only to realize, too late, that they've fallen into life's biggest happiness trap? Well, there's a simple, quick, and powerful way to avoid this mistake. It all comes down to deeply understanding something that very few people truly grasp. The real secret isn't in acquiring external things, but in self-acceptance and recognizing the inner worth you already possess right now. Feeling curious? Stay with me, because the next few minutes might completely change your perception of happiness, success, and inner fulfillment. It's common to believe that achieving external goals will bring internal fulfillment and, finally, the long-awaited happiness. You know that old story we've been told all our lives? Once I get that job, once I have that body, once I become famous, then everything will make sense. Well, maybe you've already fallen into this happiness trap without even realizing it, placing all your bets on something that's always one step ahead, constantly slipping through your fingers. This insatiable pursuit of external validation is often an unconscious attempt to heal childhood wounds that were never truly closed. You try to fill that sense of emptiness with material achievements or applause, but quickly realize that right after each victory, the feeling of internal fulfillment fades away. After all, external goals are only temporary distractions. They can never replace the emotional awareness and self-acceptance you're truly seeking. Maybe you know someone like this, or maybe you're living it right now. The more you invest in this frantic race for external approval, the further you drift from the inner value that already exists naturally within you. True, continuous growth begins the moment you realize you don't need to prove anything to anyone, because everything you're looking for out there already exists inside you. And what if the real secret to true freedom lies in the exact opposite of what you've always believed? It's natural to believe in that old myth, that happiness is always just around the next corner, patiently waiting for you to arrive. You think, once I buy that house, once I get married, once I land that promotion, then I'll finally be happy. But have you noticed how often, when you finally reach those external goals, the promised happiness slips away just as quickly, like sand slipping through your fingers? Maybe you felt that strange sensation of achieving something you fought hard for, only to realize that something still felt missing. That's the happiness trap at work, the one that keeps you chasing new external achievements without pause, locked in a vicious cycle that never delivers the internal fulfillment you're craving. What's truly missing isn't the next trophy. It's the willingness to look inward, to seek self-acceptance, and heal the childhood wounds that may still be lingering beneath the surface. Internal fulfillment can't be built solely on external circumstances, because those change constantly. Your inner worth isn't defined by what you achieve or by how others see you. That's why it's essential to understand that real happiness lies in the ongoing growth of your inner world, in the development of your emotional awareness, not in fleeting success that depends on things outside of your control. And what if the secret to your true freedom is actually much closer than you ever imagined? Speaking of happiness and inner fulfillment, have you ever stopped to think about what truly drives your pursuit of external recognition? It might be that, deep down, perhaps even unconsciously, there's a lingering insecurity inside you. A feeling that you need to be seen, valued, and admired by others in order to feel worthy. And maybe, because of that constant need for approval, you started believing that being famous or widely recognized is synonymous with success and personal worth. But let's be honest here. Fame is nothing more than a superficial bandage over much deeper emotional wounds. Wounds that may have formed back in childhood, when perhaps you didn't receive the love, attention, or validation you truly needed. These childhood wounds often create an emotional void, leading you to believe that only applause, visibility, or public recognition could finally bring peace and inner fulfillment. Unfortunately, that's just another happiness trap. because emotional emptiness can't be filled by anything that comes from the outside. Notice how many celebrities, even with thousands or millions of followers, live anxious, insecure lives, constantly searching for something that gives meaning to their existence. That's because fame and inner worth are two completely different things. They don't depend on each other. Real inner fulfillment only happens when you learn to develop emotional awareness, cultivate self-love, and recognize the value of who you truly are. After all, true freedom isn't found in how others see you, but in how fully you can accept and love yourself. Maybe at some point, you've thought that true love would only come once you reached a certain physical standard. Who hasn't caught themselves thinking something like, if I were thinner, more attractive, or better looking, then someone would truly love me? This misleading belief is often rooted in a fragile self-image, an unconscious attempt to heal old wounds from childhood tied to rejection or lack of acceptance. But think about this. Have you noticed how many people with what's considered a perfect body still feel unhappy or insecure? That's because self-love and external approval are not the same thing. If you place your happiness in how others perceive your appearance, you'll never truly feel fulfilled. Insecurity will still linger, even if you reach that so-called ideal body, because real acceptance has to be born from within. There's something essential you need to understand. Your inner worth is not defined by a number on the scale or by other people's opinions about how you should look. If you truly want to experience real love, it has to begin with self-acceptance and emotional awareness. Try looking at yourself in the mirror today, and instead of criticizing the details, be grateful for being alive, for breathing, for simply existing exactly as you are. And what if the love you've been searching for has been quietly waiting for this exact first step? Your decision to truly love yourself. From an early age, we're often led to believe that our self-worth depends solely on what we do or achieve in life. You probably grew up hearing things like, be someone important, stand out, be the best. But here's what few people ever tell you. Your true worth doesn't depend on any of that. In fact, your inner value already exists within you, just for being who you are, without conditions or external expectations. Maybe you've already noticed how exhausting it is to keep chasing external achievements, desperately trying to prove that you're worthy of recognition or love. But when you understand that your worth is directly tied to self-acceptance, everything becomes lighter. After all, no external goal can ever satisfy the deeper need for self-love and healing, whether the wounds came from childhood or adulthood. Real inner fulfillment arises when you finally realize that you're already enough, exactly as you are today. How about trying a quick exercise? Grab a piece of paper and a pen, and write down 5 things you appreciate about yourself, but that have nothing to do with what you do or own. It could be your ability to listen, your sense of humor, or even your kindness when speaking to others. This simple activity is a powerful act of emotional awareness, showing you that true growth and freedom come from recognizing the value that already lives inside you. And what if, instead of endlessly chasing external validation, you finally discovered that everything you ever needed was always right there, within your own heart? Have you ever noticed how some people reach old age full of joy, vitality, and a genuine sense of inner fulfillment, while others seem frustrated, bitter, and trapped in the past? The reason for this difference is simpler than you might think. Those who live with deep satisfaction are the ones who, over time, came to understand that true happiness doesn't come from external achievements, but from the continuous growth of their inner world. Anyone who works with the elderly sees it clearly. The happiest among them are the ones who always made time to learn something new, whether it was a skill, a hobby, or the development of their emotional awareness. These are the people who learn to heal their emotional wounds instead of carrying them forever. They realize that constantly complaining about unrealized dreams or missed opportunities is one of the greatest happiness traps, and it only leads to regret. Try talking to someone over 70 and ask them what truly mattered in their life. You'll probably hear things like moments shared with loved ones, loving and being loved, allowing themselves to make mistakes and learning to accept who they are. Notice how no one talks about fame, wealth, or appearances. They talk about real freedom, self-acceptance, and inner worth. And what if the elderly are quietly holding the life secrets that could spare you years of chasing things that never really mattered? Have you noticed how everything in life is constantly in motion? In nature, you're either growing and evolving or inevitably regressing. The same is true for you. There's no such thing as a neutral state or true stagnation. The elderly who experience the greatest happiness in life are exactly the ones who understand this, consciously investing in continuous growth. Whether it's by learning a new language, exploring a hobby, or developing emotional skills like self-awareness and self-acceptance. You might know people who stop pursuing knowledge or new challenges, claiming they're too old for that. These people often end up feeling frustrated and unmotivated because, by ceasing to grow, they begin to shrink emotionally, often without even realizing it. The key to inner fulfillment and true self-worth lies in never stopping the process of learning and evolving, whether you're 30, 50, or 90 years old. After all, who said there's a right age to start something new? A great way to ignite continuous growth is to begin learning something new right now, regardless of your age. For example, how about diving into transformational books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle or Atomic Habits by James Clear? You could also start dance classes, pick up a new language, or finally study something you've always wanted but kept postponing. Remember, true freedom comes from your ability to keep evolving internally day by day. And what if your best version is already waiting, just on the other side of that bold step outside your comfort zone? Isn't it interesting how most people believe that being free means not depending on anyone or being able to do whatever they want? But true freedom goes far beyond that. Real freedom is when fear and insecurity no longer have power over you. When you stop constantly worrying about how others judge your appearance, your achievements, or your lifestyle. It's when you finally feel enough self-love to live your truth without needing external approval. Real confidence doesn't come from how recognized you are, how many likes you get on social media, or how often people praise your accomplishments. True confidence is born from the inside out. The moment you start healing your emotional wounds and cultivating self-acceptance and emotional awareness of who you truly are. From that point on, what others think doesn't matter as much. You already know your inner worth. And that's what brings ease, peace, and a kind of happiness that doesn't fade. To begin experiencing this authentic freedom, start by taking small actions that break your dependency on external validation. How about dressing exactly how you like, without worrying about what others might say? Or speaking in public without the fear of messing up, knowing that your value doesn't depend on a flawless performance? These small, practical steps strengthen your emotional awareness and pave the way to a more authentic, courageous life. And what if true freedom has been waiting all along, just for you to take that first step towards self-acceptance? Can you see that financial fear doesn't depend solely on how much money you have in a bank? In reality, this fear stems from a scarcity mindset, an unconscious belief that there will never be enough. Often, you might have money and still live as if you don't, depriving yourself of small joys and constantly worrying about the future. That's because emotional scarcity limits your ability to perceive true abundance. To shift this reality, you need to understand that abundance isn't just about money saved. It's a mindset rooted in trust in life, and trust in yourself. When you trust the universe, you begin to recognize the internal resources you already have, like intelligence, skills, and creativity. Your emotional awareness awakens, and you start seeing opportunities where before you only saw limitations. That's how you create space for continuous growth and a genuine sense of freedom. How about trying a simple exercise right now? Close your eyes for a moment and vividly imagine a time when you felt truly abundant. It could have been during an amazing trip, a heartfelt conversation with someone you love, or simply enjoying your favorite hobby. Let yourself feel the positive emotions of that moment all over again. By regularly revisiting this memory, you activate self-acceptance and strengthen your inner value. gradually replacing the scarcity mindset with a real sense of abundance. And what if this simple shift in perception was all it took to start living the full, vibrant life you've always dreamed of? How many times have you heard that you need to achieve some major goal to finally feel fulfilled and happy? Well, maybe time to rethink that idea. When we take inspiration from the famous hero's journey, it becomes clear that the real value isn't in reaching the destination. It's in the person you become along the way. The inner transformation is the true destination. And that's what brings the deep sense of fulfillment and self-acceptance we all long for. The happiness trap lies in believing that your life only gains meaning once you've completed something big. By holding on to this belief, you overlook the fact that the greatest achievement is continuous growth, what you learn, discover, and overcome as you move toward your goals. Your inner worth doesn't expand at the finish line, but in the challenges you face, the emotional wounds you heal, and the emotional awareness you develop along the journey. So, try viewing your life as a daily adventure, full of valuable lessons hidden in each small experience. Don't wait to celebrate only at the end, because the real treasure lies in appreciating and acknowledging every step you've taken. How about today, just for a moment, pausing to recognize everything you've already learned and overcome? That's where true freedom begins, when you stop depending solely on external goals and start realizing that the greatest reward has always been inside you. Could it be that real happiness is much closer than you think, just waiting for you to see your path with new eyes? Do you ever stop to think that everything you deeply desire in life, money, fame, love, recognition, isn't really about those things themselves, but about the feelings you believe they'll bring you? Take a moment with that. What you truly want isn't the external goal. It's the internal sensation, security, happiness, acceptance, or true freedom. The powerful truth is that you don't have to wait to achieve external milestones to feel those things. You can start right now. Perhaps the greatest happiness trap is believing life will only be good once certain things happen. That belief pulls you away from self-acceptance and keeps your emotional wounds open. Emotional awareness reveals something deeper. You don't need to wait for someone or something to feel self-love, inner fulfillment, or self-worth. You can give yourself, right now, exactly what you've been chasing externally, because the feeling you're searching for is already available within you. Understanding this deeply is the beginning of a powerful transformation. You begin to realize you no longer have to postpone your feelings to a distant future or some ideal goal. Contrary to popular belief, true fulfillment and happiness are available here and now. All it takes is your conscious permission to access them. By cultivating this emotional awareness, you discover that you already possess the inner value needed to live fully, without waiting for perfect circumstances. And what if everything you've spent years desperately chasing has been right there inside you all along, just waiting to be recognized? Now that you hold a truth that could save you decades of searching, only one thing remains. Take action. Understanding is easy, but are you really willing to let go of the beliefs that have delayed your happiness up until now? Are you ready to take control of your inner fulfillment? Or will you keep waiting for external approval? Remember, life doesn't reward intentions, it rewards action. So tell me in the comments, what's the first step you're going to take today to rewrite your story? If you do nothing now, 5 years from today, you'll wish you had started. And of course, if you want to keep deepening your journey of continuous growth and true freedom, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. The shift has already begun. So, are you coming along?